More sports. It is your boy Marshall. Why am I smiling like this? I don't know. I guess I'm just happy today. Today, I did the whole stream on it, but here is my March Madness bracket for men's. This is the only basketball league I'm eligible for when it comes to Division One NCAA. So, yeah, I officially have my bracket set. So we're just gonna do this. It's gonna be a really, really, really good time, and it's definitely gonna be a perfect bracket. I promise. Trust me, it's gonna be perfect. I'm telling you right now, it's gonna be perfect. But oh, no, it's not. But anyways, well, never say never. But what are you doing? Don't poop on that. Sorry, he's in here just chilling. But today we are going to go to Google Chrome. Yes, I can finally stream stuff on here now. I'll make videos on here now, which is nice. But yeah, but hold on, let me fix this real quick. But let's do this. So we're gonna be making March Madness predictions, and yeah, I already made the predictions. I made the predictions already. I was gonna go in more in depth with it, or like more like explanations, I guess. Yeah. Anyways, let's freaking back and do this, shall we? But here is my bracket, boys. I'll put myself up here so I can actually see all of it. Um, but let's start off with the left side of the bracket. So I got Duke beating Siena. Siena's a good team, but Duke is like really freaking good, man. Um, then I have Ohio State beating TCU. It's gonna be a good game. I think both teams can have the really good wins this year, but I do think Ohio State's gonna win that game. I've St. John's in Northern Iowa. They both won their conference, but I do think that St. John's will get the top is the better team, obviously. Um, I think Kansas will beat Cal Baptist. Kansas is inconsistent, but I think they will and Kansas beat some really good teams this year. So I'm gonna say that. Oh, bro, I'll say that Kansas wins that game. There you go. Don't shoot it. Do not sit. No, no, no. I'll say the Jayhawks win that game though against California Baptist. And then I think Louisville will beat South Florida. I think that could be a close game. I think South Florida's a good team, but I think Louisville will have the upper hand at the end of the day. Oh, and even South. Let's see, Mama. Let's see, Mama there. Well, I guess he left. And then yeah, I have Michigan beating North Dakota State. North Dakota State won their conference. I believe they're staying there still, even though they're going to Mountain West for football. But Michigan State, in my opinion, yes, I know they did not do great in the tournament. I think they lost their first game. But I do think they will win that game against North Dakota State. UCLA UCF, this could be a close game. I actually have UCF win this game. I think UCLA could very well win this game. I feel like UCF can beat some really good teams, so I'm gonna take them to win that game. I have UConn beating Furman. For both Furman won their conference, that's how they got in, I'm pretty sure. But I do think UConn is the better team at the moment because of because I know they didn't do great in the big against St. John's in the championship, but in the Big East championship, but yeah. And then we have for the South, South to South, for Prairie View versus Lehigh, I do think Lehigh is gonna win that game. But I don't think they're any of them going to beat Florida, so I'm going to take Florida to win that game. Clemson, Iowa. I'm actually going with Iowa. I think it could be a close game, but Iowa's a very competitive team. So even with especially like bigger teams, so I think they'll win that game. Vanderbilt, McNeese. I know McNeese beat Clemson last year. Um, I think they could have a good shot beating Vanderbilt, but I do think Vanderbilt will win that game. Nebraska, Troy. This is actually ironically a football match where Troy actually beat them. It was upset a few years ago back when Nebraska was really bad, not the 2010s. But I have Nebraska in that game. Troy's a good team, but I do think Nebraska will get the upper hand. Even though I know they haven't been as good. It's hard to start the season. Yeah. North Carolina versus Virginia Commonwealth. I saw someone predict this, but you know what? I'm gonna stick. And I should say that Virginia Commonwealth is gonna win that game. North Carolina's a great team, but they've been a kind of a weird team this year. But so I think VCU could take advantage of that. I think they will win that game. Illinois versus Penn. Penn won their conference after a last second shot to set last second 3-point shots in overtime. since they won the conference over Yale, as that was they won the Ivy League, of course. But I do think Illinois is going to win that game. I think they're the better team at this point. St. Mary's versus A&M. I think both these teams have good shots to win that game. St. Mary's has been the better team lately, in my opinion. So I think they're going to take them. Plus A&M can be inconsistent. And then I think Houston will beat Idaho. Idaho won their conference, which is really cool, but it's gonna be hard to beat the reigning March Madness runner-ups from last year. So yeah. Now moving on to the west side of the bracket, west region. Arizona, Long Island. Long Island won their conference, but I do think Arizona is going to be really hard to beat. So I'll take Arizona winning that one. Villanova versus Utah State. This might be a close game. I think both these teams could win. Like Villanova has been good this year. Utah State is good as well. I do think Utah State will win. I think they'll use that last Mountain West championship for the time being to their advantage. And then Wisconsin versus High Point. High Point's had a history of upsetting teams from what I can tell, but I do think Wisconsin's a great team, so I'm going to say they win that one. Arkansas, Hawaii. Hawaii's a good team, and they won their conference, but I do think Arkansas is going to win that. Then we got BYU versus Texas or North Carolina State. I'm going to say that North Carolina State's going to win that in a revenge game. But I do think BYU will win against either of them. Gonzaga versus, by the way, because Texas and CC already played each other this year, so there's that. Gonzaga versus Kennesaw State. They both won their conference. Kennesaw State won the CUSA, and Gonzaga won the West Coast Conference the very last time, of course. Of course, Kennesaw State's one of two teams, at least in the FBS, to win both their football conference and their basketball conference. Because Duke is also one. They actually won men's and women's for basketball. They also won the football as well for the ACC. Yeah, I think Kennesaw State's got a good team, but I do think Gonzaga's the much better team at the end of the day. So yeah, Miami and Missouri both are inconsistent. Like definitely had a big huge turnaround from last year. Last year they didn't even make the AZ tournament, and this year they make March Madness, which is really huge improvement for them. This might be Florida, by the way, in case you can't tell. And then there's Missouri. They're wildly inconsistent. Like they can beat teams like Florida, but they can also lose to teams like LSU. So there's that. But I do think Missouri will win that game. Purdue and Queens. Queens has won their conference, which is really cool, and they're a good team. But I do think Purdue is the higher team, one of the highest teams in college basketball right now, especially after winning the Big Ten. So I'll take Purdue to win. And then Michigan versus either UMBC or Howard. My opinion, I think UMBC is probably going to win that game, that playing game. But I do think Michigan will beat either one of them. So yeah, Michigan's just really good, so I have to win. Georgia St. Louis, this ought to be an interesting game. Georgia's inconsistent, but they can win some good games. St. Louis had some weird losses throughout the year, but I do think St. Louis will win. I know they didn't even make their conference championship. I think they'll beat Georgia. They're top 25 team for most of the year. Texas Tech, Akron. This is going to be a very controversial pick. And as you can see, the next one is too. I actually have Akron winning. Yes, I know Texas Tech beat some really good teams like Duke. I'm pretty sure they beat, and also they beat. So like I think they beat Arizona. I don't know. Yeah, they beat Arizona, but they have been as good lately. So I'm gonna pick Akron to win. I just have a weird feeling that's gonna happen. Very controversial pick, but I think Akron probably could win that game. Then Alabama versus Hofstra. If Hofstra's offense could probably lock in, they could have a chance, but I do think Alabama's gonna win. I know their defense isn't great, but their offense has been really good all year, so I think they'll win that game. Yeah, Tennessee versus either Miami Ohio or SMU. Miami Ohio is one of the big stories in college basketball this year. SMU is inconsistent. They did beat North Carolina. They also lost to LSU too, so there's that. They beat Louisville and then they lost to Syracuse earlier season. Yeah, but I do think SMU will win that playing game because it is actually Miami's Ohio's first like good opponent they play all year, besides Akron, I guess. Yeah, and but it's like first like quad one opponent they play all year. But I do think that Tennessee will beat either of them. Although SMU could honestly have a shot at winning. Yeah. And then Virginia versus Wright State. Wright State won their conference, and I think they actually won his Miami Ohio be like this year. I think they can be good, but Virginia is one of the best teams in college basketball at the moment, so I think Virginia will win. Kentucky versus Santa Clara. Kentucky's been a weird team. They've been inconsistent, but they've been good for the most part. But Santa Clara, they did lose. I think they lost in the conference, but they've actually been. Did they beat Gonzaga or at least play close to them? I'd actually just say Santa Clara wins that game in an upset. Tennessee, and Iowa State versus Tennessee State. Tennessee State won their conference, really cool. And they've been a good team all year, but I do think Iowa State's a better team at this point. Yeah, they've been really good. Now let's move on to round of 32. Duke Ohio State could be interesting, but I think Duke will probably win that by a decent amount. St. John's, Kansas. I think either one of them can win that game, but I'm going to say Kansas wins it. I think they could become really clutch in this. I think they can honestly win it all, I'll be honest with you. Be like a four seed. They're one of the best teams that are not ranked number one, that's for sure. Louisville, Michigan State. I'm actually saying Michigan State wins. I think they will recover from kind of a weird ending to their regular season. And then UConn, UCF. UCF could give them a run for their money, but I do think UConn will probably win that game. And then Florida, Iowa. This is a very controversial pick too. But I'm actually gonna say Iowa wins that in an upset. Florida's been good this year, but like they've lost some weird teams. Plus they did get crushed by Vanderbilt in the conference semifinals. So that does worry me a little bit for them. But I do think Iowa will win. I think Iowa will upset them. I mean, they're Cinderella. Cinderellas exist, man. I'll tell you what. I had to put them on one, I feel like. Vanderbilt was Nebraska. Both these teams have really good shots. I think Nebraska, Vanderbilt both really good teams. I think Vanderbilt's the hotter team at the moment, so I'm going to take them to win. VCU, Illinois. VCU could give them a good run for the money. I do think Illinois is going to win that game. St. Mary's, Houston. I think St. Mary's could be decently competitive in that game, but I do think Houston's the better team at the end of the day. Um, Arizona versus Utah State. Utah State's been very good, but Arizona's just like freaking out of the world, man. Like they're amazing. Wisconsin, Arkansas. Both these teams are very good. I mean, Arkansas just won the SEC, but I do think Wisconsin will come out as the winner in that game. Then BYU, Gonzaga. Gonzaga's of course ranked number three, but I actually think BYU will actually win that game. I think that they could probably come out of that game as the winner. I just have a weird feeling, but yeah. Purdue, Missouri. Missouri could give them a run for their money. I do think Purdue is probably going to win that game. I think because Missouri knows inconsistent, obviously. Michigan, St. Louis. St. Louis, I mean, they're a good team, but I do think Michigan's a much better team at this point. Akron, Alabama. This is a huge one I picked. I think Akron's actually going to make it much further than people think. Akron, I think, is gonna actually beat Alabama. I just do not trust. I just think Alabama's defense could slip up in this case and potentially lose to Akron. And who knows? They might find themselves in a trap game. I think Akron will actually win that game. Yeah, I'm not saying that because I'm an LSU fan and I hate Bama. I'm saying that because I genuinely think Akron could actually make it further than people think. Then Tennessee, Virginia. This will be a good game. I do think Tennessee. I do think Virginia is the better team at the moment. And then as, I mean they did make the AC. I'm pretty sure they won it. Yeah, they made the AC championship and lost. They're going by a few points. So yeah. And Santa Clara versus Iowa State. I'm gonna take Iowa State to win that. Santa Clara could give them up their money, but I do think Iowa State's a much better team. That's it. The Big 12 is amazing in basketball. Now I have the Sweet 16. This is where things start to get a lot harder to pick because all this is really good. Duke, Kansas can honestly win this game, but at the end of the day, I do think Duke will probably beat them. Michigan State versus UConn. UConn's really good. And Michigan State's really good too. I think this could be a very close game. I do think UConn's probably the better team at the moment. Although that does worry me that they got crushed in their conference championship, but I do think UConn will cover. I think they'll win that game. Iowa, Vanderbilt. I don't think both these teams can win. I do think Vanderbilt will come out on top, though. Vanderbilt's had a really good season, so I think they'll play in their favor. And Illinois, Houston. I'm gonna say that this would be this could be a close game. I'm gonna say Houston wins this one. And then Arizona versus Wisconsin. Wisconsin could honestly beat Arizona, but I'm gonna say Arizona wins that one. Um, Purdue versus BYU. BYU could be competitive. I think BYU will be competitive in this case, but I do think Purdue will come out on top. Michigan, Akron. Akron, I think honestly their luck will end here. I think because honestly I do think Michigan will probably beat them by a decent amount at that point, at least. Yeah. And then Virginia, Iowa State. I think this ought to be a good game. In my opinion, I do think I think will win that game though. But that'd be a great game. And then the Elite Eight, Duke versus UConn. That's an epic matchup in basketball powerhouses you got over there. And also, ironically, they play each other in football too. And UConn actually beat them, believe it or not. But I think Duke will win this game. This will be a revenge game from football. The Vanderbilt Houston. Vanderbilt can also be very good in this game, but I do think Houston is the better team at this point. Could you imagine Houston still the American? Holy frick, they'd smash everyone. Although they would probably wouldn't be as good just naturally because lesser conference. Arizona Purdue, that'd be an amazing game. I do think Arizona will probably win that game. And Michigan Virginia, that'd be a great game too. I do think Michigan wins. So my final four I have are Duke, Houston, Arizona versus Michigan. Duke, Houston, we got a rematch of last year's Final Four matchup. I do think Duke will come out on top this time a lot. There's a lot of stuff on the line, including like a revenge game and all. So yeah. But then I think Arizona, Michigan will be interesting, but I do think Arizona will come out on top. If Michigan wins, then we get Duke Michigan rematch. If Arizona Houston win, then we get a in conference matchup. Actually, I don't think there's any in conference matchups in this scenario. Duke Arizona. Hell, heck, I think there's only one rematch in this whole scenario. Duke and Arizona. I think this will be an amazing game. I do think Duke will win their first championship since Coach K left or retired. Arizona, but this ought that'd be a great game. So yeah, and I'm gonna say 155 points will be scored if there isn't some tiebreakers. Yeah, but comment down what you think of my bracket. I'm honestly very excited for March Madness this year. And 0 likes, and if you get at least 0 likes, we'll do women's. You know why? Because I'm doing women's probably tomorrow. So yeah, but anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Click, subscribe, and I say goodbye. See you next one. Peace.